Have you ever wondered what it truly means to be limitless? Imagine for a moment that you're standing on the edge of a mountain, gazing out over a vast landscape. The wind is strong, but instead of resisting it, you let it guide your movements. You're not rigid or stuck in place. You're fluid, adaptable, just like the wind itself. This idea of limitlessness, of being able to move, flow, and adapt to whatever life throws your way, is at the core of Bruce Lee's philosophy. But how did Bruce, a martial artist known for his lightning-fast moves and iconic fight scenes, come to embrace such a profound understanding of life and self? To answer that, we have to dive into Bruce Lee's extraordinary life. What shaped him? What led him to create not only a martial arts system but a philosophy that continues to inspire millions today? Through his unique blend of Eastern philosophy, personal introspection, and life experiences, Bruce crafted a way of thinking that was far deeper than the surface-level punches and kicks. Let's embark on the journey of how Bruce Lee became the embodiment of fluidity, adaptability, and non-attachment, guided by the powerful principles of emptiness and mindfulness from Buddhism and Taoism. In doing so, we'll uncover the story of a man who wasn't just a martial artist, but a philosopher, a man who showed the world that true mastery comes from within. Bruce Lee. Born Lee Jun-fan on November 27, 1940, in San Francisco, California, stands as one of the most legendary and transformative figures in martial arts and popular culture. His impact isn't just limited to the world of cinema or physical combat. His influence extends into the realms of philosophy, self-development, and even spiritual inquiry. In fact, when you think about Bruce Lee, doesn't it seem as though he transcended time and place? His approach to life, as much as to martial arts, drew from a fusion of Eastern and Western philosophies, blending them in a way that made his teachings not just unique but profoundly applicable to all aspects of life. Among the most powerful philosophical concepts that Bruce Lee embraced were the ideas of emptiness, or sunyata, in Buddhism and the philosophy of fluidity and non-attachment, both of which resonate deeply with Buddhist teachings. Even though he wasn't a practicing Buddhist in the traditional sense, Bruce Lee's personal philosophy, especially as it evolved in his martial arts system, Jeet Kune Do, was undeniably influenced by these principles. Bruce Lee's philosophical foundations, a life rooted in diversity. From his earliest days, Bruce Lee was steeped in a wide variety of cultural and intellectual traditions. His parents were from Hong Kong, and he spent his formative years there, but he was born in the United States and was exposed to American culture as well. Can you imagine growing up with such a unique blend of East and West? It's no wonder that Bruce developed into someone who could seamlessly combine multiple perspectives to create something new. In Hong Kong, Bruce's education wasn't just in the physical discipline of martial arts. He was exposed to Confucianism, Taoism, and Buddhism, the three predominant schools of thought in Chinese culture. These philosophical traditions became the bedrock of his approach to life. The blend of these perspectives would go on to shape Bruce's understanding of combat, self-improvement, and even the nature of reality. Have you ever wondered how someone could integrate so many different influences into one cohesive worldview? That's exactly what Bruce did, and it's one of the reasons his teachings remain so powerful and universal today. As a young boy, Bruce's interest in martial arts was already palpable, but it wasn't just the physical aspect that drew him in. He was just as fascinated by the deeper, more spiritual elements of martial arts. He saw it as a way to cultivate not just physical strength but also mental clarity and self-awareness. That desire for a deeper understanding of martial arts stayed with him throughout his life and became the foundation for Jeet Kune Do. As he matured, Bruce's philosophy incorporated more and more ideas from Eastern metaphysical thought, particularly from Buddhism and Taoism, but he was also influenced by Western thinkers like existentialist philosophers and psychologists. Emptiness, sunyata, the core of Bruce Lee's beliefs. One of the key concepts that Bruce Lee absorbed from Buddhism was sunyata, which is often translated as emptiness or voidness. But what does this mean, exactly? In Mahayana Buddhism, sunyata refers to the idea that all things are empty of intrinsic existence. Nothing in the world has a permanent, unchanging essence. Everything is in a constant state of flux and depends on other factors for its existence. Isn't it fascinating to think that nothing stands alone in this world, and everything is interconnected? This concept of emptiness is closely tied to the Buddhist idea of anatta, or no self, which teaches that the self is an illusion. According to Buddhism, our attachment to the idea of a permanent, unchanging self is the source of suffering. True freedom comes when we realize that everything, including our own identity, is constantly changing and interdependent. Bruce Lee might not have been a formal Buddhist, but this idea of emptiness played a central role in his martial arts philosophy. He understood that clinging to rigid forms or techniques could be a limitation, just as clinging to the idea of a fixed self can lead to suffering. Bruce's famous quote, "Be water, my friend," encapsulates this philosophy perfectly. In this analogy, water represents the ideal state of being, fluid, adaptable, and formless. Water can take the shape of any container, and yet it is incredibly powerful. This idea directly mirrors the Buddhist concept of emptiness. Just as water flows and adapts without attachment to any particular form, Bruce believed that a martial artist must be formless, able to adapt to any situation. Isn't it amazing how Bruce was able to take such an abstract, philosophical concept and apply it so directly to martial arts? Jeet Kune Do, the martial art of no form. Jeet Kune Do, the martial arts philosophy that Bruce developed in the 1960s, is perhaps the most direct manifestation of his belief in the importance of emptiness and non-attachment. Unlike traditional martial arts, which often emphasize strict forms, techniques, and katas, Jeet Kune Do is based on the principle of no form. Doesn't that sound revolutionary? It's almost as if Bruce was saying that true mastery comes from breaking free of all limitations, even the limitations imposed by traditional martial arts. In Jeet Kune Do, the emphasis is not on learning a set of predefined moves or techniques. Instead, the focus is on adaptability, directness, and freedom of movement. Bruce's motto for Jeet Kune Do was, using no way as way, having no limitation as limitation. Doesn't that just make you pause and reflect? He was advocating for a form of martial arts that transcended any particular style or system. By doing this, Bruce was encouraging martial artists to let go of their attachment to specific techniques or forms, much like how Buddhist teachings encourage letting go of the ego and the illusion of a fixed self. This idea of formlessness in martial arts is directly aligned with the Buddhist practice of non-attachment. In Buddhism, attachment to the self or to specific ways of being creates suffering. Similarly, Bruce believed that being attached to specific martial arts techniques or styles was a limitation. A martial artist who is tied to a particular form is less effective because they are not able to adapt to the ever-changing dynamics of combat. By letting go of these attachments, a martial artist becomes free to respond to any situation with fluidity and grace. Doesn't this sound like the key to not just martial arts, but to life itself? Flow, flexibility, and Taoist influence. Be like water. Another profound influence on Bruce's philosophy was Taoism, particularly the teachings of Laozi in the Tao Te Ching. Taoism emphasizes the importance of living in harmony with the Tao, or way, which is the fundamental force that underlies and unites all things in the universe. According to Taoist teachings, one should strive to be like water, yielding, flexible, and adaptable. Doesn't this sound strikingly similar to Bruce's Be Water philosophy? For Bruce, the idea of fluidity wasn't just about martial arts, it was a way of life. He believed that to succeed, both in combat and in life, one had to be flexible and adaptable. This is why he encouraged his students not to become rigidly attached to any one way of fighting. Just like water, which can flow around obstacles and take on any shape, Bruce taught that a martial artist, and by extension, a person, should be able to flow with the ever-changing circumstances of life. Can you feel the power in that? It's as though Bruce was giving us the key to navigating life's challenges with grace and strength. This philosophy of fluidity and adaptability is not only Taoist but also deeply connected to the Buddhist idea of non-attachment. Both Taoism and Buddhism teach that clinging to fixed identities, ideas, or forms creates suffering. By letting go of these attachments, we become free to live in the present moment and respond to life as it unfolds. In this way, Bruce's teachings transcend martial arts. They are a guide for living a more mindful, flexible, and harmonious life. The illusion of the self, a powerful Buddhist insight. At the core of Buddhist teachings is the idea of anatta, or no self. According to Buddhism, the sense of self that we experience is an illusion. There is no permanent, unchanging essence that can be called I or me. Instead, what we call the self is merely a collection of constantly changing, interdependent phenomena. Have you ever stopped to think about that? The very thing we hold on to most dearly, our sense of self, is, in fact, an illusion. Bruce Lee understood this concept deeply and applied it to both his martial arts practice and his life. He often spoke of the need to let go of the ego and embrace a state of no mind, or mushin, a term from Japanese Zen Buddhism. In the context of martial arts, mushin refers to a state of mind that is free from attachment to thoughts, emotions, or preconceived notions. It is a state of pure awareness and responsiveness, where the martial artist can act without being hindered by the distractions of the ego. For Bruce, the ego was one of the greatest obstacles to success, both in martial arts and in life. The ego, with its attachments to fixed identities and self-concepts, creates limitations and prevents growth. Doesn't that just make you want to take a deep breath and let go of the things that are holding you back? In order to become truly effective in martial arts, Bruce argued, one must transcend the ego and enter a state of emptiness or formlessness, where one can respond to any situation without being constrained by preconceived ideas or rigid techniques. This emphasis on transcending the ego and embracing emptiness is strikingly similar to the Buddhist path to enlightenment. In Buddhism, enlightenment is achieved when one realizes the illusory nature of the self and lets go of attachment to the ego. By doing so, one can achieve liberation from suffering and enter a state of freedom and fluidity. Bruce applied this same principle to martial arts, believing that by letting go of attachment to specific techniques or forms, a martial artist could become truly free and effective. Isn't it amazing how interconnected these ideas are? Meditation and mindfulness, the mental mastery behind the physical skills. While Bruce Lee is best known for his incredible physical abilities, he was also deeply committed to the mental and spiritual aspects of martial arts. In fact, he believed that the mind and body were inseparable and that true mastery of martial arts required developing both. One of the ways Bruce cultivated his mental discipline was through meditation and mindfulness, practices that are central to Buddhist teachings. Have you ever thought about how much mental focus it takes to perform at Bruce Lee's level? It wasn't just physical training that got him there, it was his ability to quiet his mind and focus his awareness that made him a true master. In Buddhism, meditation is a key practice for developing mindfulness and awareness of the present moment. Through meditation, one learns to observe the impermanent and interconnected nature of all things, including the self. This helps to break the attachment to the ego and allows one to experience the world with greater clarity and compassion. Bruce Lee practiced meditation regularly and saw it as an essential part of his martial arts training. For him, meditation wasn't just a way to relax or clear his mind, it was a way to cultivate awareness, focus, and self-discipline. Isn't it inspiring to think that behind all of his physical accomplishments, Bruce was also working just as hard on his mental and spiritual development? Bruce's practice of meditation contributed to his ability to achieve a state of no mind or mushin, where he could act without being hindered by thoughts or emotions. This state of mind is similar to the Buddhist concept of enlightenment, where one is free from attachment and fully present in the moment. Bruce's ability to quiet his mind and enter this state of pure awareness allowed him to perform at a level that few others could reach. Can you imagine what it must have been like to be in that state of mind, fully focused and completely in tune with the present moment? Zen Buddhism and the beginner's mind, always open to learning, in addition to Mahayana Buddhism and Taoism. Bruce Lee was also influenced by Zen Buddhism, particularly the Japanese Zen tradition. Zen places a strong emphasis on direct experience and the cultivation of a clear, unclouded mind. One of the key teachings of Zen is the idea of beginner's mind, or shoshin in Japanese. Beginner's mind refers to the state of openness and receptivity that a novice brings to a new experience. It is a mind that is free from preconceptions, expectations, and judgments. In Zen practice, cultivating beginner's mind is essential for achieving insight and awakening. Can you imagine how freeing it would be to approach everything in life with the open curiosity of a beginner? Bruce often spoke about the importance of maintaining a beginner's mind, both in martial arts and in life. He believed that one of the greatest obstacles to growth was the tendency to become complacent or rigid in one's thinking. By maintaining a beginner's mind, Bruce was able to remain open to new possibilities and continue to grow, even after he had achieved mastery in martial arts. Doesn't that make you want to approach life with more openness and curiosity, always willing to learn and evolve? This emphasis on openness and flexibility is closely related to the Buddhist concept of non-attachment. Just as Zen practitioners strive to let go of fixed ideas and judgments in order to experience reality directly, Bruce encouraged his students to let go of rigid techniques and forms in order to respond to the realities of combat in a fluid, adaptable way. In both martial arts and life, Bruce believed that true mastery comes not from clinging to what we already know, but from remaining open to new experiences and learning from them. Isn't that a beautiful lesson for all of us? Conclusion: Bruce Lee's lasting legacy. Bruce Lee's influence extends far beyond the world of martial arts. Through his development of Jeet Kune Do and his exploration of Eastern philosophy, he challenged conventional ideas about combat, self-identity, and personal growth. His emphasis on fluidity, adaptability, and non-attachment reflects a deep engagement with Buddhist and Taoist thought, particularly the concepts of sunyata and anatta. Bruce wasn't just a fighter, he was a philosopher, a visionary, and a teacher whose ideas continue to inspire people around the world. Today, Bruce Lee's legacy remains as powerful as ever. His teachings on emptiness, fluidity, and the rejection of rigid forms offer valuable insights not only into martial arts but also into how we can live more fulfilling, mindful lives. By embracing the principles of impermanence and non-attachment, Bruce showed us a path to personal liberation and self-discovery. Isn't it incredible to think that his lessons, born out of the martial arts arena, have such deep and universal relevance? As you stand on the edge of that mountain, feeling the wind's pull and push, you begin to realize something incredible. The wind, like life itself, is unpredictable, constantly changing, and beyond your control. But instead of fighting against it, you decide to move with it, letting it guide you. In that moment, you're not just standing on a mountain, you're embracing the essence of Bruce Lee's philosophy. Bruce taught us that life, much like martial arts, isn't about mastering rigid techniques or clinging to what we think we know. It's about flowing, adapting, and being open to change. His famous words, "Be water, my friend," echo in your mind as you picture the fluidity of water, which can flow through cracks, shape itself to its surroundings, and, when necessary, crash with immense force. This is what it means to live without limitation, to be free, adaptable, and resilient in the face of life's challenges. As you begin your descent from the mountain, you carry with you not just the physical experience of standing at the summit, but a deeper understanding of Bruce Lee's wisdom. You realize that to be truly limitless, you must let go of attachments, especially the attachment to a fixed sense of self. Just like Bruce, who blended philosophy and martial arts to create something entirely new, you too have the potential to shape your life with the same fluidity and freedom. In the end, Bruce Lee's legacy is far more than martial arts. It's a reminder that life is about movement, physical, mental, and spiritual. It's about embracing change, just as you embraced the wind on that mountain. And just as Bruce showed the world, true mastery lies not in resisting the flow of life, but in becoming one with it. So, as you continue your journey, ask yourself, are you ready to be like water?